Hey everybody, I'm Spencer Aronfeld, and with me as always is my co-host and executive producer, Nory. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to the Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer podcast. Today we are honored to have a very, very special and important guest with us. Tell everybody who we have.
Today we have John M. Stewart, who has had an extraordinary career to begin with, but I would say is most notable for being the president of the Florida Bar.
El Presidente. Mr. Stewart, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, no, appreciate you both having me on.
Well, first of all, I just want to tell you, as a member of the Florida Bar, and I think I may actually have been a member longer than you, which makes me feel very old, I reached out to you, and instantaneously, you said, yes, I'll do it. And I just want to thank you as a member for being so available to us all.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think a little bit different being a president of Florida Bar who comes from a small jurisdiction, small firm background. So, reaching out to the members, I think, is one of our most critical roles. So happy to do it. And while you may have a few more years on me, I don't know if you do or don't in practice. This year is my dad's 50th, so he's got plenty on you. So.
Oh, well, thank him very much. So one day my son will be saying something like that when you're president of the Florida Bar.
Right, exactly.
So, Mr. President, tell us just, if you will, how are you making out, personally and professionally during this, very challenging time during the COVID virus?
Well, I think we're all suffering the same challenges. I'm certainly not immune, nor is my firm. It's been tough. It's been tough trying to navigate the shutdown. It's been tough trying to make sure that we're being responsible corporate citizens and working remotely. I think a lot of lawyers, as you know, most of our lawyers are in solo or small firms. I mean, 65% of our lawyers are in firms of 5 or less. And, not everybody was quite ready to be working remotely, but, I've been very impressed at how well both our members and the courts have really gotten up to speed in really a short time frame to kind of keep justice churning, because it just can't grind to a halt.
So when I told folks that we were having the privilege of having you on our podcast, I got some emails with some questions. And one of them comes from a second-year law student at the University of Miami named John Hoover. And John asked me to ask you, one is, what does the president of the Florida Bar do? And two is, what advice do you have for him as a law student as to how he can get more involved as a law student with bar activities?
Right. Well, the first question is, it's interesting. What do we do? I mean, a lot of what we do is go around and meet our members. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of speaking engagements. I think in 2019, I had about 135 hotel nights.
Wow.
The Florida Bar is the third largest bar in the country. So not just do we have an important state presence, which is the most important, but we have a national presence too. And it's a lot of meetings, a lot of conferences. I mean, our job, I think, is to connect with our members. We serve as an arm of the Florida Supreme Court, so we're out there to protect the public. And as the president, is convey information to our members, and also to try and, elevate the talk amongst the Board of Governors to be more forward thinking. I mean, we need to be a policy making body, not a wordsmithing body. So, it's really guiding the Board of Governors, reaching out and communicating with our members. And I can tell you that's been my favorite part. I mean, everywhere I've gone, it doesn't matter where it is. I mean, I've been to a lot of places, from the Panhandle to Southeast Florida and everywhere in between. Our members are great, and they've all been very receptive, and we've had a fun time this past year. As far as young attorneys, or I guess future attorneys, law students getting involved, I would strongly encourage them to go on the bar's website and go to the Young Lawyers Division, because the Young Lawyers Division does have a law student component to it.
Oh.
That's number one. That would be my first step. And then my second step is a lot of sections of the Florida Bar, like trial lawyer section, family lawyer section, real property probate trust law section. Those are just some of the biggest. And I don't know for sure if all of them do, but I know some of them have law school affiliate memberships. So there's usually no charge, and they send them the newsletter. And if they're in the area, they can pop by a meeting or something. So those are two great ways. And the last thing I'll say, because I think this is really critically important, if you're a law student and you know where you want to work in the general area, and that maybe is where you're going to law school, or even if not, the voluntary bar in that area is really where you want to get out and get to meet people, because those will ultimately be your peers and your colleagues.
Great advice. Great advice. The next question we got, Mr. President, comes from a lawyer that made me promise not to tell you who he is. But he says that he's feeling despair during this time, not making any money,
Yeah.
having a tough time keeping his employees employed. What advice do you have for him, or what resources are available to him as a sole practitioner during a very economically stressful time?
Yeah, it's I empathize with that. It's scary for a lot of our members. I think it's not just lawyers. I mean, professions and other businesses as a whole are going to be suffering financially for a while. I think my successor, Nory Morales, who's following me, who I'll recommend that she comes on your podcast.
Well, we would be honored to have her.
She's, I think her year, which is certainly not what was envisioned 3 months ago, is going to be around rebound and recovery. Hopefully we're at that point where we're kind of rebounding and recovering over the next year. But as far as, items that are available, I think we worked very hard to put together a great list of free, topical, timely CLEs all around the sort of COVID-19 experience that we're all suffering through. And those can be found on the bar's website. If you go to the bar's website, there's a COVID-19 banner. You click on it. It can also be found on legalfuel.com, which is sort of the bar's technology and marketing and development platform. But, there's tons of free CLEs about how to navigate the CARES Act, about how to navigate, unemployment issues, about how to navigate, what state and federal resources are available, as a starting point. And I would also suggest that, beyond that, it's going to be a time coming out of this that a lot of Florida citizens are going to need legal advice on a variety of issues. And while it's certainly challenging right now, I really see that the rebound for the solo and small firm attorneys is going to be really strong and really quickly improving. It's just going to be getting there. That's going to be super challenging. And we've done, the Florida bar lives in a very small space with attorneys financially, right? I mean, we charge you annual fees and we make you take some CLEs, which now we put out a whole bunch of really valuable free ones.
Oh, great.
And we've offered payment arrangements on the on the annual fees, so that if people are having problems, you can make 3 payments, you can put it off till later. I mean, we're very sensitive to the financial challenges that people are going to face.
Well, I appreciate that as a member. People will think of you often as the president of the bar, but you're also a practicing attorney, and soon you'll be going back into private life, if you will. Could you tell folks a little bit about your practice, what kind of cases you do, and the kind of clients you are representing?
Yeah, I probably do 3 major things, or I did 2 years ago before I became president-elect, and now I'm going to be going back to that, as you point out. Probate litigation, probate and trust litigation has been a big part of my practice. I also, living in Vero Beach, have a few super high net worth clients that just have problems that I'm sort of a problem solver. I don't always handle it myself, but they trust me to help them find people that can help solve the problems. And then I enjoy doing sort of mediation and alternative dispute resolution. And I didn't do as much of that as I would have liked leading up to that. I may start to do some more. Although people tell me now that I need to find a way to build in some of this crisis management knowledge that I've learned into part of my practice or something that I do, which may happen, because the last 3 months has been a crash course in how to deal with the unexpected.
Well, so Nory, he's up in Vero Beach. You're on your way to Vero Beach.
I am this weekend, yeah.
So now if you need anything, is it okay if my son calls you?
Yes, unless he gets in trouble, then he needs to call a criminal defense lawyer. I can't help with that. But
well, I hope he doesn't need you or a criminal defense lawyer. So behave.
I know he won't get in trouble. He's a good kid. Well, hopefully, Vero's great. We'd love to have you come up to Vero. It's hopefully you'll enjoy your time here.
Do you have any questions for the president?
I do. How do you become the president of the
Great question.
Yeah. Well, the short version, I have a long answer, but I know you don't have time for that on your podcast. But my short version of that answer is it's hard work, honestly. I mean, I think people, I mean, first of all, you have to get elected to the Board of Governors and be on the Board of Governors for a while of the Florida Bar, which is the governing body, and then the president's in charge of that group. So, it's a lot, you have to get there. It's a lot of hard work. I think the board recognizes people who work hard. So definitely hard work is one of the components. Taking chances. I mean, one, you have to run for election, so you have to risk, possibly losing. I ran for the executive committee on the board, which is a subset of the board, sort of a leadership team within the leaders. And you have to risk losing that. So you have to be able to take on some risks. And then, of course, as everything, part of it is good timing and good luck. So I think those are the three component parts in the short version.
And a desire to help people. You have to be really kind of selfless, because you've given up 2 years of private practice.
Basically, I mean, you can still work, and the presidents, do still work, but it definitely is extreme time commitment. I mean, I would say I probably am about 80% Florida bar related activities and 20% of my regular practice.
How long is the term?
You serve as a year as president-elect, and then a year as president, and then you return back, and hopefully you can drum up some business again.
Well, I want to thank you so much for, first of all, for joining us on the podcast. I want to thank you for, as a member of the Florida Bar, for your leadership and for being so compassionate and caring. Especially, we couldn't have a better person in charge of us during this time of crises. I kind of wish you were in Washington sometimes to take care of the country as a whole, because we'd probably be in excellent hands as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and for all that you've done for not just the lawyers, but for the people that we represent in the state of Florida.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I've enjoyed it. I'm definitely ready to move on, but I'll miss it. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that, we're very fortunate in what our Chief Justice of our Florida Supreme Court has done. Canada has taken on an enormous role and has really worked closely with the bar, closely with members in the judiciary to make sure that, we stay in business and up and running as best we can. And I really applaud him. He's done a fantastic job. It's been a tremendous amount of work on his part. And we're very fortunate here in Florida. A lot of states don't have the same relationship as we do with our Florida Supreme Court, which is so strong. So definitely it's a great partnership and works very well.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. So John Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the Florida Bar, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Great episode, Nory.
For sure, yeah.
If you have
thanks for having me.
If you have any questions for the president, or would like to contact us, what's the best way, Nory?
Well, you could email the podcast at trustmeI'malawyerpodcast@gmail.com, or through our Instagram. You could DM us, and I'll put the Instagram on screen.
Wonderful. Great episode. Thank you again, Mr. President, and be safe and have a safe weekend.
You too. Take care.